Hey, I'm Kimani and welcome to my channel, Hauling This Together, where we're all about getting our lives together and becoming better versions of ourselves. I'm in the kitchen today, so we're meal prepping for the week. This is the spread. I did quite a few things. I'm going to show you what I did, how I did it, and then how I plated a few things. I'm trying to be healthier and be more intentional with what I eat, and so let's get right into it. Okay, this is a quick run through of what I did. So I did some rice and peas, some mashed potatoes with corn, some air fried chicken, some jerk pork in the oven, some coleslaw. This is my sauce slash gravy. And then I did some green beans and carrots that I sauteed and seasoned. And let's get into it. First off, let's start off with our potatoes, which will be the base for our famous bowl. And I'm using these potatoes that are pretty old because it's what I have, and it's fine. This is real life. We're not trying to be aesthetic over here. So they're starting to grow a little bit, but they're still going to be eaten. So I'm just peeling them and then I'm going to wash them, chop them, the whole 9 yards. I think we've all made mashed potatoes before, so let's get right into it. Here I have my pork that is pork chops that I seasoned some time ago. And I just seasoned it with my usual seasonings and I added some jerk seasoning as well. And I'm just placing it on a tray. Wish I chose a bigger tray because it could barely fit, but I knew that it would start shrinking once it went in the oven. Put it in the oven for 400 and I was just keeping an eye on it, to be honest. And here I'm dicing up my potatoes after being washed. And now this is the chicken for our famous bowl. And I'm using this 1-to-1 gluten-free flour blend. If you want to use regular flour, that's fine. And I'm also going to mix it half and half with some cornstarch. The cornstarch just kind of gives it a better texture in my opinion. And I'm seasoning my flour mixture even though the chicken is already seasoned. So I'm using some all-purpose. Sorry, that was complete seasoning. I'm using some chicken seasoning. This is seasoning that I brought up from Jamaica, and I'm just shaking everything together to coat the chicken pieces. This is what it's looking like, and I'm going to air fry these because it's a lot healthier. And honestly, I haven't fried chicken in oil in like over a year. So yeah, one fell out. We didn't see that. Okay. Now I'm spraying this because if you just air fry it as is, you're going to get white chicken. Nobody wants that. And I'm just giving it a toss so that I can have oil on all sides so that I can get a golden brown color. I'm leaving it in one even layer. And I'm just going to air fry. There's a default setting that goes to 375 degrees at 22 minutes, but I changed it to 18 minutes because I don't know, they're in bits. And then I drained off the water from my pork that was jerking because I want it to be dried out, right? Because that's what jerk pork is. I'm literally just jumping from one thing to the next because that's how I do my meal prep. If I do one thing at a time, I'll be in the kitchen for like 5 hours. Now I'm working on my coleslaw. I absolutely love coleslaw and I've recently found a way to get it healthier, which I'm going to show you here. So it's the best thing ever. So I shredded my cabbage and then I chopped it just so that it would be easier to, like serve and eat. And then I added my grated carrot. I just added one carrot and then I'm adding a little bit of onion. You can use white or yellow onions or you can use red onions as I'm using, or purple onion, whichever onion you want to use. And I'm just giving that a mix before I add all my other stuff so that I have the onions and the carrots evenly distributed throughout. By this point, the chicken was like halfway done, and so I just gave it another mix just to ensure that it was cooking evenly on each side. You can skip this step, but I like to ensure that there aren't any flour pieces or anything that needs to be fixed. And this is my secret ingredient. Adding Greek yogurt. It's gut healthy, and I honestly consider it a win anytime I can substitute something that I like to eat with a healthier option. So I used half mayo and half Greek yogurt instead of full mayonnaise, and then I added some white vinegar, some sugar, and I'm gonna add a bit of salt and garlic powder. That's literally all I add to my coleslaw. I usually just eyeball it and then I taste it and see if it needs more sugar or more vinegar for a tangy taste, or if it needs more creaminess from either the Greek yogurt or the the mayonnaise. But that's pretty much it. And honestly, you can't tell that it has yogurt in there, and everybody loves it, but ensure that it is plain Greek yogurt. Now my potatoes are cooked, and I'm just adding some margarine and allowing the heat from the potatoes to melt that. I also have some of the water that I boiled it in, mainly because I didn't have any milk, and I needed some extra moisture. I'm adding some parsley flakes just for color. It doesn't really add much to it in my opinion, and I'm just mashing all that together so that I can get a creamy consistency. This is where you would add your milk or double cream, heavy cream, whatever kind of cream you want to add. But as I said, I ran out, and so I didn't feel like I needed to go buy just for this. And now I'm adding my sweet corn. Some people will add their sweet corn on top of the mashed potatoes, but I wanted it incorporated so that it wasn't like, rolling all over in the plate. So now I'm starting on my rice and peas, and I'm doing this in the instant pot so I can just set it and leave it, and then it will just turn off when it's done. So because I usually measure whenever I'm using my instant pot, I'm trying to get the peas out of the liquid. This was cooked before, and I just had it in the freezer until it's time to use. Now, anytime I'm cooking rice in the rice cooker, I usually do 2 parts liquid to 1 part rice. And so that right there was 1 cup of the peas liquid, and I'm adding another cup of plain water. So now I have 2 cups of liquid, and I'm going to add 1 cup of rice. So that's 1 part rice to 2 parts liquid, whatever your liquid is. If you want to use liquid coconut milk or chicken broth, whatever your liquid is, it should be 2 parts liquid to 1 part rice. And I'm using basmati rice here. I think it works for almost every rice, but I've been cooking basmati for years, so I'm honestly not sure. Now I'm just seasoning to taste. So I'm adding some salt, and I didn't have any fresh seasonings, and so I'm also going to be adding powdered seasonings and those packaged ones. So this is a rice and peas seasoning. That's pretty good. I'm also going to add some complete seasoning, which is even better. And then I'm going to add my coconut milk. I think I added some garlic powder, but I can't remember. But if you want to add it, you can. If not, then that's also fine. The coconut milk is a game changer. And so is the margarine. You can use margarine, butter, whatever, but you need something that has fat and flavor. So I'm doing that, and I'm just putting it in my instant pot, pressing the rice option and doing it for 12 minutes. That's it. By then, my chicken is done. This is what it's looking like. Honestly, it looks so delicious. So I had to taste it. I had to taste it. It tasted really good, but the texture was kind of different because of the gluten-free flour. But it was honestly like a 9 out of 10. I think the only thing that would make it a 10 out of 10 is if I used regular flour or straight cornstarch. But you can play around with it the way you want. I'm just showing you what I was doing. And now I'm cutting off the ends of my green beans because I'm going to work on that next. And I'm also chopping up some carrots in, I don't, is this julienne? I don't know what this cut is called. I'm making them into sticks, okay? And I'm just cutting them, and then I'm going to add them to my string bean, and then add a little bit of water, not enough to cover it, just enough to like steam it. Put it on the stove and have it soften a bit. I am going to cook it down with some butter and seasonings, and so I didn't need it to be fully cooked. I just didn't want it to be as crunchy, if that makes sense. So now I'm just allowing the heat in the pan to melt the butter and to coat my veggies, and then I'm going to go in with my seasonings. I use pretty much the same base seasonings for everything, and so I will be using salt, pepper, complete seasonings, some paprika, and some garlic powder, but you can season however you would like to season. This is just what I like, and so I'm showing you what I'm doing. Because the veggies were already cooked, it literally takes a minute, and the minute it's coated, I just take it off and it's done. Now let's work on our sauce for our famous bowl, because we can't have famous bowl without a sauce. I didn't want to use straight barbecue, and so I decided to make my own. So I'm adding some ketchup, some regular barbecue sauce from the bottle, because I'm not making that, and then this is Dana sauce, which is also another kind of barbecue sauce, but it, I don't know, it has a sweeter taste. I added some pineapple juice, which is 100% pineapple juice from the box. And you can use water here. Literally anything I'm doing that you don't have or you don't use, you can substitute it with something that you do have. I'm just showing you guys what I'm doing. I'm adding a little bit of honey for sweetness. This is optional as well, but I don't like the tartness of the ketchup, and so I was trying to get rid of it, which I did. I then added a little bit of salt just to balance everything out, and that's it for the sauce. Mix everything together, taste it to see if it's to your liking, and that's it. So this is the whole spread for the week. Actually, this is going to be probably for like 5-ish days and not the full week, maybe 4 days, depending on how much we eat. But this is the full set. I hope you enjoyed this video. But before you go, I want to show you guys how I put everything together. Well, not everything. I want to show you how I assemble my famous bowl, because I know you're probably like, Kimani, why didn't you put them in serving sizes? I don't have the space in my fridge. Okay. So it's okay. So I'm just putting it in the plate. This is the mashed potatoes, as you can see. And I'm putting it in kind of like a circular-ish shape. And then I'm going to like add some grooves and stuff in the middle, mainly so that when I add the sauce and the toppings and stuff, everything doesn't like slide off and be like a mess in the plate, because nobody wants a messy plate. So I'm doing that. I ended up smoothing out a little bit of it, but you get the gist. And now I'm just going in with my chicken. You can add as much or as little as you would like. This is your plate, and there is nobody here with a rule book telling you what to do and what not to do. Okay, so I'm going with that. I did a few pieces each, and then I'm going in with my sauce slash gravy, whatever you want to call it. You can put as much, you get the gist. Do it the way you like. If I'm putting too much or too little, then do what you wanna. I'm using a lactose-free cheese here, but whatever shredded cheese is fine. Maybe a regular one, even if it's a block cheese that you shred yourself, you know, would probably melt a lot better. But this is what I like, this is what I have, so that's what I'm using. And of course, we have to add a side of veggies so that we can feel like this is a little bit healthier. This is what it looks like right now, and then I'm going to put it in the microwave, and this is what it's looking like. Da da da, all melted, warm, and ooey gooey. Oh my gosh, goodness. If you like this video, then you're definitely going to love my meal prepping playlist. So check that out, and remember to do something today that will make you a little bit better than you were yesterday, like meal prepping and fueling your body with good stuff. Okay, bye bye.